there is a woman who went online to say that women who move to areas, rich areas such as Dubai, looking for men that have money, are not emotionally intimate, and they won't be. They're just stimulated on financial stability. So when a man with money wants love from a woman who's just craving financial stability, he's never going to get that emotional intimacy that he's fiending for. So like you're having a imbalance of people just living together,
Yeah.
and they're just living to cover.
And then once you're with someone, and we don't talk about that
Yeah.
like this, there's an exchange of energy. Like,
Yep.
so sometimes people are like, why do I feel crazy? Because you're dealing with crazy. So that crazy's in you too, because you're having sex with this person,
Yeah.
you're intimate with them. Because you're right. My friend lives in Miami. He said it's like a competition there of women trying to get these guys with money. And it's just like a game. And they're constantly gaming these guys. And it is sad because these guys I think what happens with guys is guys are so physically drawn to women that it becomes like a blinder for them. So they overlook things and they don't see things until they're deep in that relationship or have children with that person.
What's happening is that I think, in my opinion, when you have this imbalance of just people and their own desires and really just realistically the ignorance of their own needs, right? You have this guy who will want a beautiful woman, but we are physical seeing
Get
creatures
that.
first,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But there's two sides to this coin. This woman knows what she needs to do to get to this man who has this X amount of money. So she needs what representative she needs to play, right? So when you're playing a game, you're still gaming somebody.
Mhm.
You're still leading them astray. You're still going to lead them to emptiness. And you're going to give them a false reality of this filled void that's only going to grow bigger and probably end up on a podcast hating women. And then we
Talking
get
about someone we know.
no, then we get mad at the guy, but the guy didn't break his heart.
But this is the thing I
You know
will.
what I'm saying?
This
He
is the
didn't break
thing
his
I
heart.
would argue. So there's like 5 dimensions that I talk about: physical maturity, emotional maturity, sexual maturity, financial, and spiritual. So if a guy is just like, oh, she's beautiful, and he stops there, he hasn't physically matured. He's still living in the body of an 18-year-old or 20-something-year-old because it's like we all know as you are in a relationship with someone, you're going to get older. Things can happen. Right, beauty fades. And I always say to people, can you love this person right where they are, but like who they are? So they always say men marry, hoping the woman doesn't change, women marry, hoping the man does change. But the reality is like you're just looking at one component. Now a mature man is like, okay, she's beautiful, but what's her backstory? They're gonna go deeper. So I don't think it's just on the woman that's like beautiful to showing up and she's like breaking this guy's heart. I think it's on the man too to develop in other areas so he doesn't keep having that experience.
I think it goes. And
I mean,
here's the thing.
we have plenty of examples of guys we see and hear, and they get the baddest chicks, and they still leave those chicks. So it's like, so they looked at that one component. They had kids, and they were like, and they saw other things, but they're like, well, maybe she won't be.
No,
this
you
way.
we gotta stop. First of all, we're not gonna downplay a woman's ability.
No,
That's
we're
what-
not. We're not downplaying a woman's
Because
ability. What I'm saying.
hear me
I know
out.
where you're going with this.
Hear me out. So then let me finish.
I
Let
have
me
a feeling, but
finish.
go ahead.
So like the thing is, and this is just my opinion, right? There are women, and I say this all the time, right? A woman who have slept with a lot of men or been with a lot of men can please a man more sooner and faster than a woman who is inexperienced with men. The same way a player, a guy who is a player, he's been with a lot of women, can please a woman and know a woman and get a woman to do what he wants her to do more sooner than a guy who doesn't have that experience.
And I would say when you meet that person, you better run.
But the thing
Or
is,
pause before you sleep. You pause because this is the thing. We're going back to the dimensions. That's limited. That's limited sexual maturity. That's limited physical maturity. Because you're saying to me pretty much like, dang, she could please me. Okay, game over.
no, I'm
I'm
not.
gonna surrender. Well, people do it every day, right? I'm gonna surrender everything to this person, and then your life turns into a mess, and you're like, why is my life a mess? Because you haven't matured enough to say, okay, she's good, but like, let me slow this down for a minute and let me look at the other dynamics of this person. But I agree with you. Yes, there are people that have the ability to
Don't
connect
try
with
to
people.
align with me right now.
I'm aligning with
No,
you because
because you
I
didn't
understand
even
where
let
you're
me
coming from.
finish what I was
Okay,
saying.
go ahead and finish.
Because you went left.
Okay, go ahead. Go back.
The
Take me right.
right. So now what happens is when you have the ability, right,
Mhm.
to know somebody, you can feed them every single aspect spiritually.
I
You can
disagree with
feed
that.
listen,
Go keep
game is
going.
game. You can feed them because if I know how to please a woman and I know what women like, I know what women crave, right? And if some women, you got to know how to do more than one thing. Some women they might just like you just because you're a cool guy and you might just look or dress nice and smell good. Some women gonna say, "Hey, I need you to, please my mind." So you know what he does? He brings out a couple books that he's been studying, and that he can actually align with you intellectually and now physically. So now he's at 2 out of your 5, right?
Mhm.
And don't let him have a spiritual background because if he knows a lot about religion and or spirituality in itself, he can literally stimulate a woman in those 3 phases. And most women and most men too, because a woman can do the same to a man. When you have that ability to be able to be versatile amongst those areas, those are the ones that are realistically the heartbreakers. The
Mhm.
heartbreakers aren't the one who just got you because she looked good. Because 9 times out of 10, you had 5 other dudes that told you that she wasn't for you, right? I'm speaking from a guy to a girl. And 9 times out of 10, the girl had 5 girlfriends that said that guy wasn't for you. So she has to double back and he has to double back and say that y'all were right. The real heartbreakers are when no one saw it coming. The real heartbreakers are when we all
Which is
thought,
why I tell people take your time.
yeah,
See that person in all seasons. Time is a revealer of things. And I hear what you're saying, but like when I talk to my clients who get gat on certain things that you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, the thing they will say is like, you know what? They can't really like intellectually stimulate me, or I don't feel emotional connection to them. So yeah, they might be good at faking it for a minute. I mean, because there are true players out there. There are people out there. They have game. I mean,
Out
they do.
here, you come to a tri-state, it's a
All I'm
crazy
gonna say
world.
both ways. No, I know. I get what you're
Girls
saying.
are players too. Exactly. See what I'm
I'm
saying?
from Chicago. I'm not. Yeah,
Yo, yeah.
I get it.
No, but my thing is, all I'm saying is that the game has changed. It has elevated.
Hmm.
And when I say that in a sense where people are now have the ability to realistically come off as if they can cover, almost every single aspect. Now, granted, yeah, you're right. With time, time will
You
show,
got to
time
put the
will
time
tell.
in. I think people try to erode the time. I think like
Yeah.
online dating, it's good that you can now meet more people, but it's bad because it's like going to, and the women in the room will understand this. It's like going to the nail shop and you have 100 colors. You're like, I have 100 colors, and even when you choose that one, you're not happy because you're like, maybe I should have chose that other color. And I think online dating is like that, where it's like I have all these options, but really, what people have found out is like it's kind of the same people on other apps, right? On
Hmm.
the so it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I think to get quality, it takes time.
I
Anything
agree.
you're diligent, like you built up things in your life. I could tell you're a hard worker. It took you
Thanks.
time. It took you time to get there. And I just wish people would put that same time into a relationship because I think they would sometimes see when something's not right. And I think we have like something in our brain. I go back to your intuition and your heart. Your heart is more emotional, of course, but your intuition usually it will be like something is not right, but we just don't lean into that
Yeah.
sometimes. But I do think with time, you start to see things. But a lot of times we're eroding that time because we're like, I just gotta like get with this and figure, we'll figure the rest out later.
And you got like so there was just a I forgot who it said. I forgot which girl said, but she said, "Oh, Glorilla." She went on somewhere and said that women should just play in their 20s, their
Mm.
entire 20s. Yeah, realistically, women should be toxic in their entire 20s. But now here's
Well,
the
I'm here to
problem.
say, don't waste time doing that.
Yeah,
Like, that's a
right.
waste of your time. That says a lot about are we desiring things that we think are, things we need versus like when you look at the reality of the situation, when we get that, we're like, oh, I still want this one thing. I always think that's interesting when people are at the top of their game and they're still like, I want to be married. I want to have a family. Like they're still trying to create this unit and they can have access to anything. So
Well, I mean, there's something. Well, we know that, and I say this all the time. One of the three, they say this at like fifth grade level science. One of the three essential needs for every human being is love.
Mhm.
and or
An
affection.
emotional connection, like, that's
Yeah.
what you're talking about. That's why you have the rich guy that's like, "Okay, I've given her everything. She's here. She's played this game, but as you can't fake emotional connection."
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
still want that. I think that's pretty interesting.
You,
Like, it's a human need.
you know what I'm thinking is going on is that right now it's a free for all for for the youngins, we'll say the youth, right? So you got the women who want to do what they want, all right, and then you got the men who want to just do what they want with the women that want to do what they want. That
Mhm.
makes sense, right? Those men aren't establishing any financial stability. They're not establishing any real fundamentals or foundation for their future to lead up, and they're just outside having fun. And I think that like fun is all good until it's when you look back and you realize it was detrimental.
Yeah.
And then that's when we get to the people who are now, and the product of that are looking at things like, I don't have time to really figure you out.
Mhm.
I don't have a year or two to really invest into you and see you. Even though you might be 28, I've known you since you were 26. I think I known you for 28 years. You don't.
Mhm.
And it's going to take a probably the same amount of time as that person did growing to that 28-year-old for you to actually know that 28-year-old. Really, by that time he's 56, right? but
That's true.
but the problem is like we're all not investing time in the right space. I said this before here that dating needs to be intentional.
Mhm.
It cannot be for fun. And look, I'm a guy who had a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of fun in my life. I'm not like Wilt, but I had a lot of fun.
And you're not Will Chamberlain, his
Yeah.
20,000 plus women.
But what I do
Serious.
know is that like some things that I kind of spoke into existence happened without me even thinking that it would happen. It just happened. But I said it for so often that I wanted to have a kid at 27. I did, right?
Mhm.
When it happened, I didn't really want it to happen right then and there, but it did. But at the same time, all that being said, even in my relationship with my girl now, who's the mother of my child, we didn't spend enough time together at first,
Mhm.
which caused a lot of friction.
On the back end.
Yeah, on the
Well,
back end,
you
because
could
we
think
just had fun.
right, you either can invest on the front end of your
If
relationship
you
or on
go
the back
or pay
end,
for if you rest on the
but
front
you're
end.
still gonna deal with stuff. So it's like, why not just put that stuff up front?
Yeah.
I was reading like people are doing these. Of course, engineers came up with this date me docs. So they're doing like these 1,000 word, 1 page resume of what I want, what they want in a partner, who I am. But they're being very authentic because they have like online dating fatigue. And what I thought was interesting is like they're desiring someone to connect with them for who they are. And they're putting like details in there like, I'm geographically agnostic. If you live here and I live here, I don't care. Let's connect. Like they're like, I want to have a traditional marriage or I want to have this kind of marriage. Like people are putting it out there. And I'm like, what if we dated, like that? Like it would make it so much easier. What if you were just like, hey, it's theory and practice, but I mean, what if someone just said, "Look, I can't be serious"? What if they were Wilt Chamberlain? They're like, "Look, I slept with a lot of women."
I think that we got to get out of the this is who or what I want, and start saying like, this is what I am.
Mm,
And this is who I am. Because like what I want will change and what you
mhm.
want may
You're
change,
you're gonna
right?
evolve, yeah.
Yeah. So like there's people who had monogamous relationships, somewhere down the line become swingers,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. But if I say, hey, I'm a person who is um, I love road trips. I'm just saying. I love to be out. I love to travel. I love to drive. I love sports. I sit down every single Sunday and watch every single football game. That is not going to change.
Right.
Or you had a guy who said, I love video games. There's some women who hate men that play video games, right?
Mhm.
But like they got it. We have to start being more like, we have to start from the inside and then go out.
Yeah, and you gotta let people be who they are. There's peace in that. There's a saying that a man goes where he finds peace, and I think it's true. Like, and women too. I think we look for peace, but I think the best relationships are people that are just like that's who they are. Like they're not trying to shape them or change them. They know that's what they signed up for. Like I said, I think people get mad when they're in relationships for things they didn't sign up for. Go ahead, you go.
I was gonna say first and foremost, I don't believe men and women coexisted at peace ever in humanity. For real. Like, and I had to
I
literally.
think they did, but I think
There was always
well,
beef.
well,
Like there was
well,
always beef with
I
men and
feel like
women. They're like, and now we think that it's supposed to be just the icing on the cake.
no, I
Nah,
think
we've been battling for
I
power
think like I
forever.
mean I'm a spiritual person. I think God did intend it for it to be peaceful, but I think we kind of messed that up. And I think since then, yes, it's never been right. Because like even thinking about the story with Abraham and Sarah, she was like, "Okay, I know you want this kid. Go ahead and get with this, I'm going to give you a concubine." That did not end well. That was the most like friction situation between her and her husband, that kid. That kid felt it. If you read about, he felt, he knew his dad loved him, but he felt rejected by her. So that was the beginning of people opening, if you think about it from a biblical perspective,
Yeah.
people opening up their relationships, and then it was messy. And we've been in that mess ever since then. I mean, what's different from people swinging or saying, okay, I know this is going to satisfy you for a moment, go do this. But then when it blows up, people are like, I didn't think it would go this far. I think it is biblical. Like I think you're right that the lack of peace is there for things that have happened
They had
spiritually.
there was a study that was done, and they said that was, well, because it's about ancient civilizations.
Hmm.
All civilizations that had what is it called, sexual liberation,
Hmm.
failed. Every one of them,
Mm.
they all failed. And if you look at it, every one of those civilizations don't exist today, right? So now when we have
Because
this,
you don't have the family,
yeah, you don't have the
which is
family.
what's happening. That's what
Mhm.
when you see like all the to me unrest and the difficulties and how people think about things, it's the disconnect of the family unit. A lot of it ties to the family because the family does give you structure. It does give you access to more resources. It like if one falls down, you have the other. It helps you have a support system. But you said something earlier, and it made me think. Like I think a lot of people are married living single, or in relationships trying to live single, and the two can't coexist. You need people to be in a partnership. You can't be on this like island by yourself and be like, okay, I need you for this. That creates an emotional disconnection. And that might be what you're hearing from the guy where he's like, well, I'm giving her stuff, but she's emotionally disconnected. But then he's like really not there for her emotionally. So how can she like show that for him? So there's a lot of that happening today too.
Did you ever go to the casino, or do you gamble, or have you
I've been
gambled?
in a casino, but I'm not a big gambler.
Have you ever played roulette?
I've seen it, but yeah, I
Okay.
haven't played it.
So I was a roulette player, right?
Mm.
And there was a rule. And the rule was never look at the other table. Because the other table is always rolling the numbers that you're playing until you get there. And once you get there, out of nowhere, here
You
comes
need
a
like a
double
book.
zero.
You need like a book of analogies.
Yo, like, because for real, like, that's what I think life is. Life is just, we always at our table, right?
But looking at the other
And
side.
we're looking at the other
Yeah.
table because, at one point, our table was rolling our numbers and we were making
Right. You're
money.
like, but maybe this table might be better for me. I might have better luck.
And I done seen 22, 24, 17. I'm like, damn, all my numbers are over here. Then you go to that other
And you're
table,
like, wait, this table's messed up in a way too.
and here comes a 4.
Right.
You're like, the worst part about it is when you're a roulette player and you're watching the other table celebrate
Mm.
because everybody's winning.
Mhm.
Everybody's
You're
yelling.
just catching them in a winning moment.
Exactly, but you know what you want to do? Be a
You
part
want to
of
be a
it.
part of it.
So then you go do what they say,
Mhm.
which is what everybody's doing right now. They're just doing what other people are saying. They're going to that winning table, and then they get there, and out of nowhere, they forget that table can lose too.
Yep.
And now they all lost together,
Mhm.
except for the people who quit early. And that's relationships and gambling 101.
Oh, Lord.